It's a crazy world, crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you.
All right, guys, it's October 28th, 2024. I am back in studio, just off the airplane from New York City, where I attended my first ever Nazi rally. It was so exciting. I have so much to tell you, including video of what we saw right there. It was the Trump MSG 8-hour bonanza rally with all the usual cast of characters, from Hulk Hogan to Vivek to JD and Rudy, and everybody was there, and there were Jews and Gentiles and gays and blacks and straights and whites and the whole freaking thing, and it was an absolute America love fest. There was so much joy and nonstop laughing and cheering and happiness and flags everywhere and all of the stuff, and of course, as you have undoubtedly seen today, the media can only do one thing with that. They can turn it into a Nazi rally. So we're going to get into all of that. I was gone for a couple days, obviously did some stuff over at Fox. I was on with Gutfeld and Jesse Waters and Brian Kilmeade and a couple other radio shows and a few other things. I have not even showered since leaving New York City this morning, which is a little gross because of the constant smell of urine and weed. But here we are. We're a professional organization, and with only, 8 days to go for the election, we did not feel that we could give up a show for today, especially because just a couple days ago on Friday, obviously, Trump went on Joe Rogan's show, so I want to catch you up on that. Megyn Kelly had a freaking spectacular appearance with Bill Maher, and it seems to me, ladles and jelly spoons, that it's all coalescing at the right time together, and that's why the Nazi cry. It's so stupid. It's so actually offensive to people that lost family members in the Holocaust and all of that stuff. But that's why the cry is so loud right now, because something really magical on the ground is happening. The fruits of that remain to be seen, but we'll get to all of that. So Let's just jump in. I'm going to rewind for a couple days. You may have seen some of these clips over the last couple days, but I think a few of them are worth diving into again, and then we will tie it all together. I promise you that. Here is Trump on Rogan on Friday talking about the biased news media. Did you know that they're biased?
And it's an incredible thing. I never get a good story. I only get bad press. Now, I will say this. It's a lot easier if you're a Democrat. If I were a Democrat,
you'd get a lot of positive press.
I would get a lot of positive press.
Yeah, no, it's a creepy, corrupt business, and the media, to a large extent, acts as a propaganda arm for the Democratic Party.
It's not even believable.
Yeah, it's bizarre to watch, and most young people, I think, are aware of it. I think most boomers still, unfortunately, read the newspapers and believe in CNN.
But it's getting younger. Let me tell you, it's getting for us, for a conservative.
Yes.
And I consider myself a person.
It's the internet. It's because the internet's giving people information that they're not getting from anywhere else. And they like the very fine people hoax, the Russiagate hoax, all these different things that they've done. They tried to pin on you. That's like, it's a clear distortion of what you actually said.
The bloodbath hoax.
Yeah,
I was talking about the auto industry.
Yes.
It's a bloodbath because Japan and China are taking our auto. And I said, it's a bloodbath. They said, he used the word bloodbath.
He said, if you don't win, it's going to be a bloodbath because they're going to take over. That's exactly what you said.
It's a terrible thing they do.
But that's the problem with propagandists, because they take things out of context, and ultimately what they do is they diminish their own credibility because people don't want to listen to them anymore because they see that they've done that and they recognize what's going on and they feel insulted. Their intelligence is getting insulted.
Well, look at the rating.
All right, so the reason I wanted to start with that clip is because I think the point that we are at right now, especially to the backdrop of yesterday with this unbelievable rally at Madison Square Garden. I mean, 20,000 people inside, thousands of people that couldn't get in, that were outside, millions of people who watched. What we are now seeing, as the media tries to spin it as a Nazi rally and the rest of it, is what they're referencing right there, that the media lies. And you know they lie, right? Like, that's probably what we spend on this show doing more than more than almost anything else, is debunking media lies. And the media, not only they act as a wing of the Democrat Party, but the specific reason that the people of The View or on MSNBC or CNN have the chairs that they have is because they are paid to lie. You could, whatever job it is that you have, whether you're an accountant or a janitor or a sneaker salesman or whatever, you could never be that bad at your job all the time, basically doing the reverse of what you're supposed to be doing as a journalist, is telling the truth. You could never lie all the time or do whatever. If you were a shoe salesman and you could never sell shoes, if you were a janitor and you kept knocking over the slop bucket, it's a problem. But they are actually paid to do that thing. And Trump and Rogan sort of just going through that and pointing out the bloodbath, and they talked about very fine people and the rest of it. It's like we all get it. And now this is what we're up against right now. So for the next 8 days, what I see now happening is, are there enough people who are still, as Rogan is referencing there, the boomer types, who still pay attention to that stuff, who still believe the lies, who still can be confused by all of that? And you got to give the devil its due. It still has a way of controlling people. Are there enough people on that side, or are there enough people who have woken up? That really is where we're at. They continued a bit more on the media side of things, and Trump started talking about The View and how the ladies used to love him until he got political.
Some of these women, they're so stupid. And Joy, she would, every time she'd see me, I'd be in the theater or something, and she'd, "You have to be on the show again. Come on, let's go. We have
She
to."
loved you.
To love me.
That episode where,
By the way, Whoopi,
people should watch that episode just to see what we're talking about. Like I said, we don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're not going to put it up. But
okay.
if you watch the episode, it's bananas. It's like an alternative universe, and it's only
but Whoopi
9 years
me.
ago.
Whoopi loved me.
you. Gives you a hug and a kiss.
And how about that other one, the new one on there, the one from my administration? She writes me a letter. "You're the greatest president." She leaves. You know, she worked as an assistant press secretary. I hardly knew her. But she leaves and she writes me this gorgeous letter. What's her name? She was, I don't even know. You know, she was in the administration. She's on now currently. Sits in the far right-hand side, whatever the hell her name is. And she writes a letter, the most beautiful letter. She's quoted in the paper. "He's a consequential, he was the greatest president, blah, blah, blah." Then all of a sudden she goes to The View and she started hitting the hell out of me. Because they won't hire her unless. I've had many people go on CNN and they called and said, "I don't know what to do. They want to pay me a lot, but I have to be negative on you." I said, "Be negative. That's okay."
Okay, so it is absolutely true that Joy and the rest of the women used to love Barbara Walters, used to love Donald Trump, and they would go to the same parties, and they were all part of the same Upper West Side crew. I used to see a lot of those people when I lived up there. We're going to show you a little bit of that clip that Rogan didn't want to show because of a copyright strike. I'm fairly certain it's fair use. So we'll show you that in just a second. I love the fact that Trump can't remember Alyssa Farah's name. She's the one that's the pet Republican. I'm always talking about they sit her there and they tap her on the head and give her a cookie. And he's exactly right. He just illustrated exactly what I'm always telling you. Why does Alyssa Farah have the job on The View? Is it because she's a good conservative and can fight for her, her beliefs and everything else the way Elizabeth Hasselbeck used to do 10, 15 years ago? Or is it because she's just this neutered anti-Trump nothing who will toe the line? I think you know the answer to that. And Connor, let's see if we get a copyright strike on this one.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
Yeah, so he was on, and Barbara Walters was happy to say that they were friends, and there's other videos even before that with him playing around with Joy and the rest of it. So what happened? Is it that they suddenly think that this man, who is a real estate mogul in New York, who's around all sorts of people, always doing good things in New York, by the way, and building things and helping out with the Central Park ice skating rink when nobody else could build it, and like all of this stuff, that he suddenly magically became a Nazi or something? Of course, the answer is not. I want to show you one other clip from the Rogan appearance, because they also got to the heart of the sort of what I would say is a match made in hell between Trump and the media. That the media, they rail against him relentlessly, and then they desperately need him. If you saw my appearance on Gutfeld on Friday night, we talked about this a bit, because to me, the MSNBC people, they're calling him Nazi and Hitler and everything else, but they also want him to be president because they know it's good for their views. If they get Kamala in, then they have to spend 4 years defending her nonsense. But they would much rather, because they know he's not actually a Nazi, they would much rather have someone that says crazy things that they can say crazy about, and everyone can kind of profit along the way.
So I always got more publicity than other people, and it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild
Maybe. Maybe
He
that's
said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events, and you're just talking, and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff, but it's like. And you were making fun of Elon one time. You were doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, you'd be in jail. Like it's great timing. Yeah. But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. And I think
it's funny. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business.
It's the most dangerous business.
And that's right there. That's it right there, right? And it's the most dangerous business. I mean, the man did get shot not too long ago. We don't talk about that much anymore. And I don't even know, there was maybe one reference to it at the entire rally yesterday. But the point there, it's not just that he has the chops to do this, but what he did was expose the nonsense, that we were mostly getting basically actors. Politicians became actors who could read a script, and nobody felt they were authentic. Nobody felt they were real. And he came in and did something we've never seen before. He was the bull in the china shop. And as I discussed with somebody this week in New York who was trying to figure out who to vote for, and I was given the full Trump sale, I know everybody might have wanted a panther in a china shop, right? That's what I said years ago to Eric Weinstein. Like, people wanted a panther to walk in and knock one thing over with its tail and then close the door on the way out, but that's not what you get. You get a bull, and Trump used all of the skills. And watching him give this speech yesterday, which we'll throw to a portion of in just a second, the guy still at the end of it was an 8 or 9 hour show. It started basically at 1 o'clock. It ended at about 9 o'clock. And he's on the prompter given the main meat, but then he goes on these extemporaneous stand-up routines, and he's playing with the crowd and doing all of this stuff, knowing that every word he's going to say is going to take it out of context. But that, whether you like him or not, or whether you agree with him exactly on abortion or on foreign policy or something, it's just way more real than anything that the Democrats have. How is it possible that an orange man with the crazy hair who is a billionaire is way more authentic and real and more of an everyman than any of the Democrats, particularly the one that they've installed as the nominee? We have some receipts of the growing popularity around Trump that we'll get to in a second. But first, let me talk to you about monkeypox. Did you guys know that there are 4 companies in the U.S. that control over 80% of the U.S. meat industry? And China now controls the largest portion of U.S. pork. These companies are using mobster-like tactics to crush American family farms, and with the additives they're putting into our foods, Americans are stuck with sketchy meat. So what can you do about this? Let me tell you about a company that's coming up swinging on behalf of American family farms and your family's food security: Moink. The business is simple. Moink's meat comes from animals raised outdoors where a pig is free to be a pig. Their farmers are given an honest day's pay for an honest day's work, and they deliver meat straight to your doorstep at prices you can actually afford. Born, raised, and harvested right here in the U.S. of A.
Keep American family farms farming by joining the Moink movement today at moinkbox.com/Rubin. Sign up today and get free hot rolls in your first order. Spelled MOINK box.com/Rubin. Oink, oink, get moinked. Moinkbox.com/Rubin.
All right, so even though the rally was less than 24 hours ago, I'm sure you guys have started to see some of the clips, so we're not going to show you a ton of them. However, I do want to show you, and again, it was just a love fest from beginning to end. I don't know that it would be possible to go to a political rally and have more laughter and joy and see a more diverse crowd in the truest sense of diversity. If you didn't see it, I posted it on Twitter, but I was sitting next to Aaron Wexler at the beginning of the thing, who's been on the show many times. And about, I don't know, maybe 15 feet in front of us, there was a woman, a Muslim woman, in a full burqa. Like, you could only see her eyes, full burqa. And then we know, which we thought was kind of curious at a Trump rally, like that breaks the mold, right, in some sense, or at least breaks the stereotype. And then I looked, and then literally one row in front of her, within 3 feet distance, was a yarmulke-wearing Jew. That is not something that they are going to show you in the mainstream media. So let's jump ahead. Instead of showing you a whole bunch of clips that maybe we'll show throughout the week or that you've seen already, here's just a portion of Trump's closing remarks.
The nation that we all love. We bleed the same blood, we share the same home, and we salute the same great American flag. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in, we will never give up, we will never, ever back down, and we will never, ever, ever, ever surrender. Together we will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. We're going to win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, New York. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you.
And that really was the theme, guys, that we can make America great again. 4 simple words. And it was interesting watching the lineup. We'll do one little compilation for you in a moment. But watching the lineup, you see Dr. Phil, you see Rudy, you see Vivek, you see Dana White, you see all of these people. And I don't know if they had I don't think they had run their scripts by the campaign. I seriously doubt it. But there was a through line throughout, which was that the things that we are now seeing as insurmountable problems, the crime and the economics, and the Middle East and Russia, Ukraine, that all of this stuff actually can be fixed if we get the right people in government. Like, we actually can fix these. And I would say it was also reiterated several times, particularly by Vivek, that it doesn't all come from government to make those things happen, but that we can fix it, and then the future will look bright. So speaking of the future, Elon Musk, with his dark MAGA hat, joined, he was on stage right before Trump.
America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing. Now, you guys are awesome. Honestly, this is like... Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of positive energy that America is all about.
And that's really what it was, guys. And again, it didn't matter what your skin color was or your religion or any of that nonsense. Do you love America? Do you think our history's good? Do you think our founding documents are good? All of that stuff. And he's such a dork, and it was just great, and you could feel it. You genuinely could feel it in the room. That's why just even on this single, we're not even 24 hours out from this thing, and I'm like, going to the airport, and I'm on the plane, and I'm looking at the media reaction to this thing, and to just see the difference of what I saw in that room, and then some of the ways, which we'll get to in a moment, that the media is covering this thing are just completely insane. Here's a compilation of a bit more.
A lot of people ask me why I left the Democratic Party. And I say, I don't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me.
Join me as I say these words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Our message to Black Americans tonight is this: we want you, what we want for every American. Safe neighborhoods, good jobs, clean streets. A country where you are judged based on the content of your character, not the color of your skin or your political beliefs. That's the America we know.
Like I said, the difference between winners and losers is winners do things losers don't want to do. And what they do is they take actions toward known outcomes. They deal with the truth. They set goals and they go after them with passion. And it's time for us to bring it home. It's time for us to bring it home. It's time for...
I don't know about you guys, but I think that Travis Kelce might be the next O.J. Simpson. Feels good in here. The other side's got a lot of crazy endorsements. Swift, Eminem, Leo DiCaprio, Beyonce. Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what you guys want.
All right, we'll have more on Tony Hinchcliffe. That was the comedian at the end. That was the opener at 1 o'clock, and that's the thing that everybody seems to be going crazy about today because he made a couple off-color jokes. They don't seem to be upset with his P. Diddy joke. It's something else. We'll get to that in a second. But there was just nothing racist or mean or anti-immigrant or anything else. It just was not, and that's why the disconnect, to get us to that first clip that we showed you of Trump and Rogan from a couple days ago, that's why the disconnect between the reality of the content of the 8 hours of the rally and then what the media is doing with it are so wildly apart, because they are in freak out mode because of the disconnect now between the people that are brainwashed by mainstream media and the rest of us. And in some ways, this election really is just, does the system have enough juice left to flex one more time to scare enough people into voting for an artificial intelligence candidate? Charlie Kirk had a good tweet on what was going on here. He wrote, "The entire MSG rally is a massive flex. It's psychological warfare against a demoralized party. Just scroll the timelines of Dem accounts. The cope is thick." Yeah, they did not know what to do, and they don't know what to do, and that's why they're going hardcore Hitler, which we'll get to in a second. But first, 1775 coffee.
Let's be real. Most K-Cup pods are filled with low-quality beans that are loaded with mold, pesticides, and who knows what else. Studies have shown that mold and pesticide residue are big issues in mass-produced coffee, and trust me, you can taste the difference. Stale, toxic coffee isn't the way to start your day. That's why Rumble's 1775 coffee is a game changer. Their new K-Cup pods are packed with single-origin, high-altitude beans, hand-picked for maximum flavor with no shortcuts. Whether you prefer medium roast, dark roast, or their mushroom blend with lion's mane, reishi, and cordyceps for a brain boost, these pods fuel your mornings without the junk you get from big brands. Now you don't have to sacrifice quality for the convenience with K-Cups. Head on over to 1775coffee.com/Rubin and use code Rubin to save 15% off your 24-pack today and power up your mornings with the best.
All right, I don't think I have to beat a dead horse here. There was no racism. There was nothing mean. There was nothing Nazi-like. There were literally Jews praying again next to Muslims. Like, it was just, okay, you understand all of that. But what can the system do? Well, Tony Hinchcliffe opened up the show at about 1 o'clock. People, remember, there were thousands and thousands of people trying to get in. Try to imagine the security that was there for us even to get through the line. We were ducking and weaving, and we had people with us that were trying to pull us through. Like, it was absolutely insane to get in there. So people were just rolling in. They start the thing at 1 as the crowd is still coming in, and Tony Hinchcliffe kicks it off. And he works blue. He's an insult comic, right? He's like, he's a roast guy. So he was kind of making fun of everybody. The crowd was kind of groaning at times, or people were sort of not really paying attention, whatever. Anyway, Tim Walz and AOC were on Twitch at the time. It's a video game streaming service. They were on Twitch playing Madden, the football game, and they heard Tony Hinchcliffe's Puerto Rico joke, and this is the thing that everyone is focused on today. Take a look.
These are terrifying.
Absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. No.
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
Actually, I think that's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super disappointing. I mean, I don't. He's a comedian. I don't follow
Trump,
this
crew issue
very
with Puerto
closely,
Rico
but...
again. I saw it. This was when he went down after Helene, the horrific hurricane. People there, everybody coming together. We sent helicopters down from Minnesota and personnel. You know, this is how you do this during this. And in the first hours, Trump complaining about the response. Does anybody remember how he responded to Maria in Puerto Rico? It was absolutely horrific. Down there insulting people, throwing it. Look, I know that the folks who are on here today understand this. People in Puerto Rico are citizens. They pay taxes and they serve in the military at almost a higher rate than anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's like super upsetting. Obviously, it's super upsetting to me. My family is from Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican. And I need people to understand that when you have some a-hole calling Puerto Rico floating garbage, know that that's what they think about you.
Well, that is what I think about AOC. So she bizarrely did get one right. So that's impressive. But okay, this is pure faux outrage. First off, the guy did a 15 or so minute set. He made fun of a bunch of groups, including Jews, by the way. No one's upset about that. It's okay. You got to have a little sense of humor. That's kind of how the world works, or should work. And if you make fun of everybody, then everyone's in on it together. And then we don't start chopping each other's heads off. But you guys pick your groups to decide when you're going to be upset, and she's very upset. You know, it's funny when that hurricane hit Puerto Rico a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Matt Walsh offered to raise money for her abuela, her grandmother who lives in Puerto Rico. I offered to throw in some money. I think they had raised about $1 million for her poor abuela, and she wouldn't even take the money because she wants the government to do everything, and she doesn't want, you know, just people out of the kindness of their heart, or at least to prove her hypocrisy, to do anything. Anyway. The media is running with this now, that this thing, that proves their anti-immigrant feelings and that they hate Hispanics, all of the usual stuff. But that game is just not working anymore. Tony Hinchcliffe tweeted this. He saw that clip and he tweeted this. These people have no sense of humor. Wild that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. I love Puerto Rico and vacation there. I made fun of everyone, watched the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be time to change your tampon. And yeah, again, he did make fun of everybody. They're going with it. And now, if you would like to see the ultimate irony, if you want to see the most perfect example of why they want to censor us, of why they need to make sure that you only pay attention to the authorized news from the machine and not everything else. Well, just yesterday, as right now, the entire mainstream machine, and it will be on network news tonight, tomorrow, and everything else, is going off on Trump's racist rally with the anti-Puerto Rican joke and blah, blah, blah. Well, Kamala had a rally yesterday, and George Lopez was there, another comedian. He's a lefty comedian. And what would be the chances, if you guys, I don't know if we have the odds makers around here, what would be the chances that he might make an off-color joke about Hispanics too at almost the exact same time, and nobody's going to Yeah.
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and George Lopez said, you better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight.
On a racist-o-meter, which one of those would be more racist? Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke about Puerto Rico. It's a country. Okay, he's comparing it to garbage. What George Lopez did right there was basically say all Mexicans steal shit. Which one of those is more racist? But you see what they did. 8-hour rally that they're telling you is like a Nazi rally at MSG from 1930 whatever. And all they could pull off was one line from a comic who opened the thing at 1 o'clock. Meanwhile, at their own rally happening at exactly the same time, they've got a comedian saying that Mexicans steal shit. The hypocrisy is off the charts. I know you get it, but well, if you want a little bit more on this, here's MSNBC covering the Hitler rally that I went to yesterday. Great Hitler rally, and I had I wanted to get chicken fingers. The line was a little too long. Ended up having a nice shaved, it was a nice shaved beef sandwich, which is something to get at a Hitler rally.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Honestly, fuck that guy, whoever the fuck that is. Fuck you and the horse that you rode in on, you worthless piece of shit on your evil propaganda network. You know why they didn't zoom in? You know why they didn't zoom in on the footage they were showing you there on MSNBC? Because they would have seen Jews wearing yarmulkes, and they would have seen black people and the people with Hispanics for Trump rally, and they would have seen all the young girls, and they would have seen the entire mix of people. You know why they didn't play the audio, the full audio or video of the whole thing? Because when Hulk Hogan went up there and said, hey, brother, I don't see any stinking Nazis in this rally, the whole crowd went nuts. You know why they didn't play video? Because there were several times that Israeli flags were unfurled and the crowd went crazy. Like, you people are the worst, most disgusting, awful liars on the planet. On the absolute planet. And I would still defend your right to be that awful. Now, interestingly, oh, wait, we have the screenshot. So take a look at this. This is from the MSNBC thing that we just showed you. You see what they're doing there? Just another deceptive way the media does something. So they're showing you the Time rally, Time magazine, they're showing you the Trump rally and the headline, how the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden follows a long tradition in politics. Then they're showing you the actual, a screenshot of the video from yesterday, and then they're reading to you something that happened in 1933 about the stormtrooper set upon him, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you know why they didn't attack the Trump stage yesterday? Because he's there for everybody, because this is the widest tent pro-America movement in my lifetime, and you guys are not happy about it. But interestingly, if there was a place that there was some anti-American and Jew hatred and everything else happening, it's not there. But here's a story that's breaking right now that you are not going to hear about in mainstream media. Check this out. This has just happened. I think this happened yesterday. In Chicago, footage has emerged of a 22-year-old. His name is Sidi Mohammed Abdullahi. The Muslim gunman accused of shooting a Jewish man and first responders while shouting Allahu Akbar. He was taken to the hospital for injuries for being shot by police after he allegedly opened fire on them. My friend Carol Markowitz, who's been on the show many times from the New York Post, she's done some follow-up on this. And yes, he's an illegal immigrant who came here a year and a half ago. So a jihadist came, shot an Orthodox Jewish man,
who was going to synagogue on the Sabbath and then shot at the first responders while yelling a religious slogan. That did not happen at the Trump rally, and there is just no doubt that that guy was let in under Kamala Harris. So do you see where I'm going with all this? I think you do. Guys, let's talk about Rumble Premium, and then we will continue with my friend Megyn Kelly. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions around COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Of course, Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked by brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech while Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers alone. They don't get much of it. So watching our show is the number one way we can ask for support from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code Rubin when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium/Rubin and use code Rubin. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us right here on Rumble. Do I have to apologize to the people for the choice language at 4 p.m.? It seems more, 4 o'clock, it seems more okay than when I do it at 11. I just don't even know what else to say about these people at this point. And again, to actually be there and be in a room with so many people, it was just nothing but joy and love. And to then compare that to what I just showed you from MSNBC, there's just nothing else. It's just like, fuck you. That's it. There is just nothing left. But if you want a slightly more nuanced analysis of what's going on here, on Friday night, we'll back up for just a second, Megyn Kelly was on Real Time with Bill Maher, and I will give Bill credit here, not for anything he said on the show, but putting Megyn on, who can make the case for Trump, who's clearly like, you know, she's generally liked by people on both sides and is thought of as not an extremist and everything else. The fact that he was willing to do that right before the election is credit where credit is due, even though obviously it's not going to get Bill there. But here she is just completely dismantling Bill's argument that Trump is a fascist.
I'm not saying you don't have a point. I'm just saying it's hard for people to understand why that, which is not democracy, that's the border issue. And you're right, they fucked it up. That, with like the things he's been saying and all the people in his administration who said he's a fascist, he wants to be a fascist, he talks like a fascist, his friends are all dictators.
I don't care about that at all. Not at all.
Because?
January 6th was not good.
Wait, why don't you care about that at all?
Because they've been saying that about Trump for years. They've been saying that about Republican candidates for years. It has like a long storied history. If you are at all center or center right, you are used to having your candidate of choice completely demonized, whether it's the F word, the R word, the misogynist word. They tried to tell us Mitt Romney was a raging sexist because of binders full of women. They tried to tell us John McCain was a raging racist, notwithstanding the fact that he had adopted a daughter from Bangladesh. They've been doing this for every Republican. They get to Trump, and we no longer are listening to them. Trump has incendiary rhetoric, there's no question, but we have 4 years to judge him by, and the country was going pretty well when Trump was in there, unlike the 4 years we've had under these two.
Well, I mean, I could argue with that too. Actually, if Trump had this economy, and I could go through all the stats, the stock market is through the roof, wages are up.
Not as high as it was under Trump.
Well, first of all, Trump inherited somebody else's economy.
That's what Barack Obama would like us to do.
Well, it's true.
Okay.
It's really on day one, everything changed.
So just walk me through it. So Trump has Obama to thank for his economy, but Biden can't thank Trump for anything.
Okay. Let's get off this. Because it's not what I really want to get to.
Bill, with all due respect, there's probably a reason you don't want to get to it, which is that was the point. She dismantled it. They show the hypocrisy. And this is why, and that's why I'm giving Bill some credit here. Lefties generally don't want to have any level of debate with people on the right anymore because it's much because the arguments on the right, generally speaking, are much more cogent and obvious, and she clearly lays out why we're not buying the bullshit as it relates to Trump. We know what they did with Romney. We know what they did with McCain. They would have done it to DeSantis or anyone else. So it's like, here we are. And Trump broke these people. I would say he broke them mentally. They continued. Here they are. She's explaining, Megyn explaining why she's voting for Trump, and then they got into a bit on the illegals.
Look, you want to know why I'm going to vote for him, notwithstanding what you said. And I'll give you a couple good reasons off the top of my head. Number one, what's happened with illegal immigration. I'm voting for him because I don't want any more Laken Rileys. I don't want any more Jocelyn Nungaros, the 12-year-old girl who was killed in Houston by 2 Venezuelan illegal immigrants who took her to a bridge and murdered her and threw her over the bridge.
And Americans have ever done that?
That's not the point. We have to take the Americans. I know, but we don't have to take it from Venezuelan illegals.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree we took in too many immigrants. But the idea that you take in immigrants, I would assume you concede we should do that to a degree. We should take in people from other countries. We take in like 1 million legal every year.
Legal is one thing.
Anytime you take in 1 million people, some of them are going to commit crimes,
Bill,
like of any group.
Do you have any idea how many illegals we let in under Biden Harris?
Okay, so that's your issue?
That's one of them. 10.4 million at least. That's what Customs and Border Patrol says. It's probably more. That doesn't count the gotaways. 10.4. You know how many it was under Trump? 2.3.
But that's more important than democracy and
That is democracy. What is America if we let in another 20 million illegals who come into your community, who overrun your town, who endanger you, who take up social service money so that your community center closes, so that you can't pay for basic services for your townspeople?
We're talking about size of things, like Arnold Palmer.
So he doesn't know what to do again. So he throws in the corny joke. But you see how good she was right there, calmly explaining it. Why is this important? And then the standard, Bill's sort of giving you the standard liberal response is, well, people do bad things. Even legal immigrants do bad things. And it's like, well, that's not the point. And then then they do the trick. The great trick, what they're really trying to do with everything is, okay, you point out 20 bad things that the Democrats have done that Trump did better. And then they go, but what about democracy? He's a threat to democracy. And then she just perfectly, like with the scalpel, just perfectly dealt with that. She was like, well, this is democracy. You don't have a democracy if you just have people overrunning the streets. You don't have democracy if you have to give services to illegals in lieu of giving services to your citizens. You don't have democracy if, say, there's a horrific hurricane that hits North Carolina and $300 million has gone to illegals. So these things are all deeply, deeply connected. And I assure you, having just been in New York City for 3 days, and we did a video, if you may have seen it on Twitter, if not, we'll show it on the show tomorrow. I walked by the Roosevelt Hotel, the once world famous Roosevelt Hotel that is now a migrant shelter, and it's insane. There are hundreds of people waiting outside on top of the hundreds of people that are inside, and God knows what they're doing, what their intentions are. There's a lot of kids now, so I was relieved to see that not everybody was, a male of military fighting age, but something is wrong, and we all know it. And now let's shift back to the media portion of this, because we wouldn't be in this situation if the media didn't lie to us about everything. So when they still lie about Trump, it shouldn't come as a surprise. This is all they know how to do. And again, we will see if in 8 days from now they can pull off the greatest hoax of all time by getting this artificially intelligent, emphasis on artificial and not on intelligent candidate through the to the other side. But let me show you J.D. Vance, who's just done a bang-up job when he's going on these interviews and exposing the nonsense of the liars, in this case, Jake Tapper.
Ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care most about?
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, That's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, you know, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys,
they wouldn't.
You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that they wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win, and then we're being told
he's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
Nothing anonymously sourced.
or who
Zero
one guy who is a disgruntled employee.
I told you
where
10
five other
people
pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
Again, guys, now you can see the real tension of what's going on here. The real tension of what's going on is not, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? Are you a little more liberal? Are you a little more conservative? The real tension now going on is basically there is two sides grappling for reality. One of them, I would say our side, is dancing with reality, right? We may not be right about everything, but we've seen the lies. We're kind of all in on it together because we're seeing how awful they've been. And then there's another side that's gasping for air. People are turning away from them in droves. Just look at our numbers compared to any CNN show any given day. And they don't know what to do. And they're being exposed in real time. So of course, JD Vance is right. You guys ran with the Russia hoax. And he's like, well, it was an FBI investigation. But even that there shows you how they play the game. So if you really wanted to take out a candidate, all the FBI would have to do, the deep state would have to do, is get someone to investigate somebody. And then the media can spend 4 years reporting on investigation. Oh, and then there'll be a sham impeachment about it too. Or the Very Fine People hoax, or all of the things. So Jake, sorry, buddy, you're just wrong. And people have had it and they get it. And by the way, it's not just Jake. Check this out. This is CNN's Anderson Cooper going after MSNBC because as it gets worse for them, as people tune out, they're all going, they're basically at the stage right now where they're ripping out the copper wiring from the buildings. They realize there's not much left here. And Anderson Cooper now is not left enough for the left. You gotta love this.
This country where, you know what, I got so many, I don't look at comments about myself, but I was looking up some comments about my Grief podcast, and I came across this whole inundation from people who are Harris supporters saying to me online today, like, how dare you, what a betrayal that you would ask her these questions.
No,
and I'm like,
your job.
you misunderstand what my job is. I'm not on MSNBC, and no disrespect, what they do is, they're very talented. But I don't watch it. I'm not interested in watching what these overpaid blow-dried anchors think. And I include myself in that overpaid blow-dried, although I don't blow-dry. I am overpaid. But I'm not interested in the anchor's opinion. I'm interested in facts and letting the viewers make up their own mind. So anyway, I'm sorry this devolved into something else, but this is fascinating.
Anderson, as John McClane said in Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal. So now you're realizing that you guys who all pretended that Donald Trump was a racist and a fascist and Hitler and everything else, now you do your proper job. And by the way, you did do your proper job in the interview with Kamala Harris, the town hall thing that we showed a bunch of clips of, and I credited you for it. Now you're getting hate from your side because in their quest to install that woman to stop Hitler, which if you thought he was actually Hitler, it would be a just cause, they're pissed at you. So sorry, buddy. I hope you get enough copper wiring, although you won't need it because you're not an Astor. Who is his grandmother was not Astor. He's from the what family? New York City, rich. The guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Who is his grandmother or something? Not Astor. Come on. Something. Vanderbilt. Thank you. Here's a guy whose brain is coming back online. His name is John Fetterman. He's a senator in Pennsylvania. Still is a Democrat for some reason, but he is seeing the tea leaves change in front of his eyes.
You know, I'll never forget, I live directly across the street from the steel mill. And we were doing an event there for Clinton. And I asked the union president, I'm like, hey, where we are on Trump? And he's like, yeah, probably half or 60%, two-thirds are voting for him. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And then immediately there was a guy getting off, and he had a truck, and he had truck nuts on it. Do you know what truck nuts are?
Do I look like I know what truck nuts are?
It's balls hung on the hitch of a truck. And he honked, and he was like, "Go Trump," as he drove by. And it's like, hey, we're in trouble. And it's undeniable.
I love it. I love it. The closest thing to a sane Democrat these days, except is a Democrat who's now left and is now a Republican, or it's a guy who had brain damage, and as his brain heals, he's now telling you the truth. And that's why this thing that we are seeing is so interesting. Barack Obama is pissed at black men because they're not just sucking it up and, oh, Barack, you told me who to vote for, that's who I'm going to vote for. And union workers and steel workers are realizing, you know, what was the video we played a couple weeks ago is the head of one of the unions, like, I've been a Democrat. He was a Boston guy, great accent. I've been a Democrat for 40 years. They've been fucking us over for 40 years. So why not maybe go the other way? And that's what everyone is starting to realize. And that's why you can go to a Trump rally that they tell you is a Nazi rally, and there's a woman in a burqa sitting next to a Jew with the yarmulke. One more from Rogan and Trump.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel, you want to be punk rock, you want to like buck the system, you're a conservative now. That's how crazy. And then the liberals are now pro silencing criticism. They're pro censorship online. They're talking about regulating free speech and that regulating the First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
Joe, they come after their political opponent.
Well, they
I
do.
got more guys. I always say, you know, I kid, but I'm not kidding. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He'd kill you in 2 seconds if he didn't like you, right? I've been under investigation more than Alphonse Capone, only because it's political opponent stuff. And I've won. I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win, but you know what they did? They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yes.
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're weaponizing it by saying that that's what you're going to do once you get in office.
Isn't it
great? By ignoring what they're doing right now. It's crazy.
I heard it. Somebody was defending me today. They said, no, they say that's what you're doing to him. They're going, he's going to put us in jail. He's going to invest.
That's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, will you do that? Will you do that to him, to them, if you win? You know, the presidency has tremendous power. I could have put crooked Hillary
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't, because what you said was it would be bad for the country.
And it would be bad for the country. We don't want to end up in banana republic stuff where everyone that comes into office jails the previous person, because then no one good will run for president, and then ultimately no one who has power will ever give up power. So I think we've illustrated here today that the hypocrisy it's been high for a long time, right? The levels have been rising, but it's going to peak in the next 8 days. The absurdity, the name calling, all of the lying. It's all they've got left. Now, there might be some other surprises, right? With the October surprise that Donald Trump suddenly became Hitler, there's probably some other weird stuff. But keep pushing, guys. I'm telling you, just from conversations I have had in my own personal life in the last week, there are so many people who are breaking towards Trump for the first time. I know many of them in my own family and friend circles, and they in many ways spent a lot of time over years maybe calling people racist or not understanding why someone was supporting Trump, but something special is brewing right now. And to get to Elon's point, the future could be bright. It should be bright. We still have human ingenuity. We still have the American dream. We've still got great documents that allow us to speak freely and all of those things. So let's not piss it away in 8 days from now. There's no post game because I got to get to the kids after being away for a couple days, but we do leave you with, I think, about 15 or 20 seconds. I shot this. This was Hulk Hogan coming out, which for me was the highlight of the, free speech, save America, Muslim and Jew. Okay, fine, Hulk Hogan.